It's not necessarily that simple. Delilah has a message for all women to take heart. Delilah, like many women in the Bible, reminds us of the unusual strength women have, a strength that either builds or destroys. While women are naturally the weaker physically, they possess an exceptional yet subtle strength spiritually and emotionally. It is important for women to be conscious of this strength because its potential to both build and destroy. Women have the power to build up individuals, homes, communities, and churches. Likewise, that same power can also destroy. Delilah chose to destroy men for money. How many of y'all can relate to that? She could have chosen to help build character as Deborah attempted to do with Barak. At the same time that Samson was destroyed, so were Delilah's people. We women must be aware of the strength that God has given us and that Satan desires to use this strength for evil. It is our choice how this God-given strength will be used, to build or to destroy. Read Judges 16 and see also the insight essay on temptation. That was Delilah and Samson. And I kept going. I said, this is getting interesting. Because like I said last, don't let nobody minister to your spirit. You know, how are we connecting this word with the times that we're in? And everybody has had a person in their life that like to suck all their strength they got out of their system. What did you do about it? Comment. I'm live in the chat room right now. I know the Bible is a touchy subject. But I cover everything because I'm in servant leadership. That's what I do. Jezebel. That's the next one. What did I say about her? I said she was envious of Elisha. Evil, idolatrous, reckless, rebellious, ungodly, wicked, and the abuser of power are just a few of the descriptions associated Queen Jezebel, who was also a Baal prophet. Tower of Baal. Look that up. Do some research like what I'm saying. Baal is one of the descendants from the Tower of Baal by King Nimrod. There's some drama in that one too. And that explains why we have different languages. If you didn't know. Jezebel was born in Tyre, which was on the northern coast just above Israel. Her father was Ethbaal, king of Tyre and Sidon. Ethbaal was formerly a priest of Ashtar, who violently removed his brother, Phelis, from the throne. Jezebel grew up in a home and community that did not worship Yahweh. Instead, she worshiped Baal, which is a little g god, just so you don't know. This stark difference in her background was that of Israel proved to be a source of great conflict. In spite of the differences, Jezebel and Ahab were married. The scriptures say that Ahab had 70 sons. That's a lot of kids. 2 Kings 10:2. But do not disclose how many of them were sons of Jezebel. In any case, she was the mother and stepmother to 70 sons and at least one known daughter, Athaliah, queen of Judah. While they were in the early stages of the marriage, Ahab permitted Baal worship in the temple. That was offensive to Yahweh. The extent of its offensiveness, is reflected by the statement, "There was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up." 1 Kings 21:25. Jezebel is remembered in like fashion for her evil in the sight of the Lord, her Baal worship, and her cruelty to others. Elijah was one of the prophets during the reign of Ahab. Since Elijah was called to be a prophet of Yahweh, he naturally opposed the king and queen. After a long drought, there was a showdown between the prophet of Yahweh and the prophets of Baal. Jezebel had 450 Baal prophets and 400 Aspartate prophets. Elijah challenged the Baal and Aspartate prophets to ask their gods to rain down fire. They were unsuccessful. Then Elijah poured water on his wood and prayed for God to send fire. Yahweh produced fire while the false prophets' gods produced nothing. After Elijah won the struggle, he ordered the deaths of all the Baal and Asherah prophets, 1 Kings 18:40, 19, and 1. When Jezebel heard what Elijah had done, she sent a message. So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. 19:2. It has been said that the test of a true prophet is that his or her prediction comes true. Jezebel's prediction about taking Elijah's life did not come true. Of course, Elijah ran, but more importantly than that, Yahweh protected, fed, and sheltered Elijah. Conversely, Elijah prophesied about Jezebel. 2 Kings 9:37 says, the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, this is Jezebel. Jezebel dolled herself up with thick eye makeup, fancy clothes, and an eye-catching hairstyle. Then she stood at the window and called to Jehu. 2 or 3 officers appeared at the window where Jezebel stood, and at the command of Jehu, they pushed Jezebel out of the window. When Jehu looked for the corpse to pay respect to the daughter of the king, they found no more of her than the skull and the feet and the palms of her hands. 9:35. The evil in the house of Ahab caused the deaths of Baal prophets, the death of Jezebel, the death of Ahab, and the death of the 70 sons of Ahab. Athaliah herself did not escape execution. See 2 Kings 11:16. This is deep. What lessons can we learn for today from the story of a wicked king and queen? Sometimes it seems like the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer, but this story informs the reader or the listener that there is a day of judgment. In that day, the righteous will be rescued by a righteous and holy God. The righteous, the poor, the oppressed, and the downtrodden will suffer no more. The oppressed will be delivered from the snare of oppression and injustice. Ahab and Jezebel killed their neighbor, Naboth, to steal his little plot of land, but God calls each human being to love your enemy and the stranger. Yahweh calls us to live righteous, holy, and faithful lives. In the end, the righteous will receive shelter in the time of storm, as was true with Elijah. Evil has its reward, as was seen through the deaths of Ahab, Jezebel, and their children. Wow. Read 1 Kings 16:31, 19:1 through 2, 21:5 through 16, 2 Kings 9:10, 22, 30 through 37, and read Insight Essay on Influence. Right back to leadership is where we need to go. So you got that one. So not only are you messing up for yourself when you're a narcissist, you mess up generations after you. So be careful, guys. This could be us. But we under grace now. And we can ask for forgiveness and get a new start. But those people, they didn't have grace, so they had to go right away. So, that's a reality check right there. Good you can come to the Boss Ladies Live radio show spiritual series. I'm just talking about spiritual warfare right now. I did a show called What is a Narc? 1, 2, and 3. And then it kind of cut off, so it was like 1 through 3. Check that out if you haven't. That just gives you the basic fundamentals of what a narcissist is, if you don't already know. And what does it have to do with spiritual warfare, which I'm finding out that it's not a very good ending with this course that people want to take when they want to be a narcissist, or they choose to have that personality disorder, and what happens to them when they continue to be evil. And there's a difference between good and evil. We fight with it every day. And how do we fit the scriptures into our times that we're living in? So that's where we're at with that. And I read a few stories about it. And I'm just looking through to see what else I found after I read about Jezebel just now. What happened to her? Ooh, that was a gruesome death. I don't ever want to lie like that, or get shoved out of nobody's window. Because I can't be humble and treat people right. It's all about how you treat your neighbor at the end of the day. So welcome Miss Jackie to the show. Do you have any insight? Miss Jackie, do you have any insight on spiritual warfare? Anything you experienced? If you want to share anything as far as being in a narcissistic abuse, have a person you know been a victim of narcissistic abuse? And what do you think, what do you have to say as far as spiritual warfare is concerned? Am I pretty much covering everything? I'm just still looking for some stuff I have folded down in my Bible. Because I have a women's Bible. And they have like little essays on stuff. And it kind of went with what I wanted to talk about. So I'm just making sure that I covered everything from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Because the stuff that we dealing with is in here. It's just, are you studying? Are you reading? Are you, like, back to reading, listening, and associating? That's part of leadership. That's part of being a man, a woman, a guy. But we get shunned away because of the cares of this world. But I'm about tired of the cares of this world. I'll tell you that. Domestic violence. I'm going to read that little story about that. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believed in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. John 3:16. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. This is the first commandment. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. Mark 12:30-31. Charity, love, doth not behave itself unseemly. 1 Corinthians 13:5. So if you acting all crazy and lashing out and being a jerk, that's not godly. I'm glad I saw that. This is a lot of Christians that claim to be Christians, like that article stated. You're acting unseemly, like you're acting not normal, and so according to this situation, so that's not godly. So, you don't got no love in your heart if you want that. If you love me, keep my commandments. John 14:15. The great God of the universe loves us. He wants us to love him, each other, and ourselves. God never intended us for us to be victimized. The text above illustrates how important the principle of love is to him. And Jackie says, I don't have much to say right now because I'm in agreement with what's being said for the most part. Awesome. Too often African American women overlook or forget the part of the commandment that requires that we love ourselves. The culture does not embrace us, and we are sent messages not to love ourselves. Furthermore, we sometimes do not fully understand what love does and does not require, particularly in intimate relationships. And I've been a victim of that as well. We cannot love another in the way God desires if we do not love, respect, and protect ourselves first. Violence is so incapable with love. Domestic violence, physical, psychological, economic, sexual, is sin. Violent relationships break the greatest commandment. Ooh, that's put in perspective. Man, I gotta pause for a second. Man, that one right there. Hold up. Hold up. Now, we talking about the king of the universe. We ain't talking about, the God of this world. We talking about the king of the universe, and society teaches us that we should just love them where they at and all that. But it's kind of contradicted to this because it says, furthermore, we sometimes do not fully understand, and that's what gets us, what love does and does not require. Particularly in intimate relationships. We cannot love another in the way God desires if we do not love, respect, and protect ourselves first. That's the part I forgot about. But I'm good now. Because when you know better, you do better. Jackie says, but that's just not us black women. We're just highlighted because of what is currently seen. Black women are more so put in the forefront of negativity. Absolutely. And that's why I'm busting it all out. White women go through this. Hispanic women go through this. Minorities more so because